Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raw is Ginger.
Well, everybody, welcome back to another Raw is Ginger. And as you can see, all three of us are back this week. Guys, how are you?
Aye, good.
Oh, all right. Well, my balls aren't as sore as they have been, which is quite good.
That's good. It's usually Toner whose balls are sore.
Yeah. Well, Toner actually missed that because that was when we were recording Animation Station. But broke out in this really, really bad sweat rash around the nether regions. And yeah, I've been on like medication for the last fortnight. That's fun.
No sympathy.
No, I know.
Have my balls for a day.
Mm.
And not in your mouth as normal. I mean, like in general.
Well, we'll get around to the normal questions for this show. How's your balls, Toner?
Agony. That's how I'm riding off an old skip.
Oof. The joys of that.
Which, and very quickly, I ended up sitting up and now that way, because you're up all night and you're like, fucking, what do I watch? What do I watch? And I went through all the crap you could find in apps and stuff. And then I went, that wrestling app's on my iPad.
All right.
I'll fire that on. I've literally watched everything and anything on this. Before it was really just used for like the kind of main events and stuff.
Yeah. Because
I thought it's easier paying that than 15, 20 quid every time in the telly. I was like, I'll pay it $9.99 a month.
Aye.
And then I've started going through it. It's actually better than I thought. I've never properly looked through it. And it's actually not too bad. I mean, don't know, there's some amount of shit in it, but there's actually some kind of cracking stuff in it as well.
Well, in fairness, I don't have access to a certain sports entertainment network. So if anyone wants to reach out and basically buy it for me, it'd be appreciated. And then just have to decide from just having to look up and go, oh, this happened and that happened. And speaking of that, it's time for us to dive into our post-match analysis of SummerSlam 2023. And we had a tie this time. Kev and Toner both did extremely well on their cards. It could have been a three-way tie, but I knew nothing about the Battle Royal, and I was just like, I am not even going to justify taking a guess. I mean, I probably would have guessed fucking Sami Zayn, and I don't think he was even in it.
No.
So there you go. Well, that's how much I knew about that one. At least the other ones I could hazard a guess with. But
I knew nothing about it either, and knew that LA Knight was announced and thought, well, that's a given.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was announced. Didn't know jack shit about it when I did the recording for the predictions. So I was like, it's going to cost me, but I can't do it because I don't even know who was in it. It would be somebody, and they'd be like, oh, by the way, they're not in it, or that person's injured, or yeah, this person's in it. I'm like, what? So as it stands at the minute, like Toner is ahead, winning on 2 pay-per-views, Kev on 1, myself on a big fat 0. I was like, this is the system we'll kind of run with until the end of the calendar year, and then we'll revamp the tables as we go to make it a bit more exciting. But let's dive into the post-match analysis. We'll start first of all with your overall thoughts on the PLE because I never got a chance to watch it. I was raging because I was at my cousin's 18th that night, and her cousin was going in a walkabout in Glasgow because they were doing a watch party. And I was so tempted to go. So tempted. I had the bloody kids and Alison, and I'm like, damn, I couldn't have stayed up that late anyway. Because I'd been on the go since 7 o'clock in the morning. But
it ran for like 4.5 hours. It was about 4.5 hours.
Aye, it was nuts. So what did you make it, Toner?
It was good. It was entertaining enough. I mean, obviously based on, and I don't know if Kev will agree, but based on the predictions, it was predictable.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of get, I mean, it doesn't take away from the quality of some of the matches and, wee different spots happening throughout, which obviously we'll go into. But overall, yeah, I thought it was all right. Predictable, hence the kind of predictions that we got. But you're never the worst pay-per-view that I've ever seen. I would say this year, probably if you just base it on matches and the match quality, I would say probably above average.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. We knew what was coming we got all the predictions bar one, and it's like the build up to all the matches, you could see how they were doing it, but the overall quality of each match was fantastic compared to other PLEs of the previous year. Even last year's SummerSlam was dreadful.
That's quite an interesting one to look at, because a lot of people were talking about that SummerSlam last year was better than this year. And you're going in the opposite direction.
I'm going in the opposite. But last year's was even more predictable. You knew what was happening. Nothing was going to happen at all. It was all non-matches to build up Survivor Series, which was a non-match as well. It's actually only been since WrestleMania that the matches have started to become pay-per-view quality again.
Which is is really ironic, because since then they've actually become more predictable. Because I said the three of us were on the money with most of the outcomes.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into it anyway. So the first match that was on the card was Logan Paul v Ricochet. Logan Paul got the win in 18 minutes, but using brass knucks, because let's face it, it's Logan Paul. He's like the American William Regal without the charm. So guys, what did you make of it? Because there was quite a few acrobatic and aerial spots, because this match was actually choreographed by Shane Hurricane Helms.
I mean, I think that now we've seen enough of Paul to kind of know what you're going to get from him. He's got so much heat on him. I mean, the boos he gets, and to be fair to him, he plays up to adding in things like the brass knucks. Do they really need that to win that? Probably not, but it adds to him being hated even more, if that's possible, than what he already is. He plays up to that, and I think he does it, to be fair, really well. Some great high spots in it. There's some great kind of working, having him and Ricochet together. Actually having the two high flyers there, I think works really well. It doesn't always. I thought it did. Predictable in who was going to win. It was always, he'd lost that many in a row that they were always going to give him the win. But they had a few decent spots in it, kind of a lot of the high moves. And it's just what you become to expect with Paul now. There's always going to be that 2 or 3 high-flying moves that he's always going to do. Did anything in that match stand out to me for me to go, oh, wow, that was incredible? I quite like the elbow to the jaw that he done a Ricochet. But other than that, the high moves were what we've seen from him, everything up until now.
Yeah, well, Torn touched on it, Kev, that he'd had a lot of losses on the bounce before this. Do you think that was maybe like his initiation? In the WWE, like they didn't to see if he was really going to stick it out?
Well, he was coming in as a celebrity. You know that when they bring in celebrities, they're either going to be a tag team and get the win and be a good guy, or they're coming as a tag team and a bad guy and get the loss. They switched that because he was in with The Miz and he was a bad guy, but he got the win. And then The Miz turned on him. So they were trying to make him a good guy. And then it didn't work. So they just turned him again. And then that started to work. But the match itself, it was an enjoyable match. It was your typical high flyer match. I mean, you've got somebody like Ricochet in there who's able to level up on the high flyer more than what Logan Paul can. It's just he takes it there, then Logan Paul takes it there, so Ricochet takes it to there, and it's just seeing who can get it to the top to get the win. And obviously Logan Paul couldn't get that a clean win, so he uses the brass knucks. It was predictable who was going to win because of the build up that they've done with Logan Paul. They put him in the Money in the Bank match. It's like they're going to push him somewhere at least, but he's never going to get a top tier title if he does get a title at all. But they will build him for a bit, and over the next year he might have a run with a belt somewhere.
Yeah. So star ratings out of 5 for this match. And we'll go with Tona.
1.5.
Any particular reason? Do you think it's so low because of the predictability?
Aye, and I think, as I say, that the high move spots, there was no kind of high octane, high impact, high move spot that you thought, wow, there wasn't anything like that in it. So for that reason, the predictability at the end, on the win, that's the reason that I would say 1.5.
Yeah.
I would have given it a 2. I enjoyed the match. You knew what was coming. Like Toner said, there was no unexpected high spots. There was nothing like premium live event, big spot. It was just like a standard match. It wasn't like stepped up for the live event, if you know what I mean, because it was just your standard high flyer match. So that's why it's only getting a 2.
Fair enough.
But I did enjoy it. But for a pay-per-view match, it should have been a bit more.
Yeah. No, I can't give any star ratings because I never got a chance to see it. From like the sources that I've checked out, like the average has been between 3 and 2.5. So a little bit lower in the card from us, but that's just us. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the next one. Cody Rhodes v Brock Lesnar. Cody getting his win out of his best of 3. That was a match that lasted 17 minutes and 35 seconds. And it ended with Brock raising Cody's hands. There's lots of talks about that. That wasn't actually in it. That was actually, legit. Kev, do you think it was legit?
Oh, you could tell it was. Brock Lesnar doesn't do anything that he's told. If he was told to do that, he would never have done it. He would have clotheslined Cody's head off if he was told, oh, you're going to show my respect. And if they tell him, oh, you're going to clothesline his head off, it's like, nah, I'll do what I want. He's on his way out. He's working out his contract. So he can do what he wants. They can't fire him. His contract's set in stone. So even though he's been playing the bad guy up until this point, I don't care. People love me. I'm the bad guy, but people love me.
Yeah, he does have that kind of like anti-hero kind of thing about him, which kind of came from the whole Cowboy Brock phase, ironically, around SummerSlam last year. But to a lot of people seen that as kind of like it's the passing of the torch. From Brock? Do you think it's a passing of the torch, or was it just a sign of, like fair play, good match, see ya?
I don't really think it was more to do with a passing of the torch. Totally different wrestlers, totally different styles. It wasn't like one kind of beast to another type thing. If he'd done that to, say, a young Mark Henry, Braun Strowman, something like that, you would kind of get it. I think this was more to do with just the sheer kind of respect that he had for Cody and the entire build-up. Because to bear in mind, this was the typical, American kind of story, in the sense of a kind of a hero figure that kept getting beat down and beat down and beat down, and would keep getting back up, and then eventually prevails overall. It was, I'll be honest and say, for all the stories kind of running just now, minus the kind of bloodline story, I thought this had been kind of really well worked. How it started, granted, was very strange and off the cuff, but how they've kind of progressed that now, the two of them have run with that. I think outstanding job. And I mean, even the match itself, it had the kind of predictability of, you imagine Lesnar's going to dominate for quite considerable parts of it, and Cody will get his wee bits in here and there. But even how they played all that out, I thought was really well done.
So in terms of star ratings, Kev?
I'd give this a 3 stars. Just because we knew Cody was going to get the win. But the match itself, at points you didn't know where it was going to go. You're like, are they going to give Cody the win? Is Brock going to get the win? because there was some close calls, and it's like, oh, maybe they're going that way, but that's how you tell a story.
That's true. Toner?
I've got to kind of agree with Kev there. I'd say 3 stars for the simple fact of that match. It was close, but it was a great match to end that kind of chapter and that story. I thought it was the kind of best way to do it because none of them, although Cody get the win, and we know Brock's kind of winding down and looking like he's kind of path out, but you know, Brock being Brock never came out that looking weak or looking at anything other than what he is, and which has happened to him in the past. He never came out at looking any other way.
Fair enough. Well, you're in line with most of the predictions, I think. The highest it's been given from ones I've looked at is 4 stars, but they're averaging about 3.5 to 4. So you're on average for once with the general predictability of the match. So we move on to the one that obviously I chicken shitted out of because I didn't have a clue about who was in it. The 25-man Slim Jim Battle Royale, which was only 11 minutes and 35 seconds, considering there was, 25 people in it?
Yeah.
Well, and obviously LA Knight got the win, and there was the return of Omos as well. Now, some people are saying that portraying Omos as a heel is not a smart move because the guy himself is such a nice, lovable person that he should really be a face. What's your guys' opinion on it? We'll go to Toner first with this one. Do you think heel or face, or do you think there's somewhere in the middle?
You know what? I think when you look at your kind of, and I'm not putting them in line with these guys, but if you look at kind of historically, all your kind of top guys have been able to play both parts. They've been able to play heels, they've been able to play faces. I think on what he's able to play is down to him himself because how he is in general shouldn't affect how well he plays a part. I actually like him as a heel, probably more than I would as a face, because we having, the kind of backing that he's got. I do quite like that kind of side of it. If he was to go to being a face, he probably wanted to go out on his own and do that. I don't think it kind of works any other way, but I quite like it. He get his comeback. I mean, the match overall, we predicted LA Knight. It was quite clear. He was very quiet. I mean, there wasn't much said of him in the kind of openings of it. His name mentioned here and there, but again, the amount of people there is in the ring. And then he got the kind of win that was predicted.
Yep. Like I said, LA Knight was predicted for the win. The pops for him were the loudest pops of the night, I would say. But from what I'd kind of, read up on and seen, basically by everybody guessing it, LA Knight winning, it was deserved. But there was an interesting bit in it with AJ Styles and Sheamus. They seem to have a bit of a back and forth. Like, Kev, do you think that's something they could potentially be teasing for a match down the line?
I don't think so. I think it was just they're trying to get their top names in spots just so that they can say, oh, that could potentially be something later down the line. The next thing that Sheamus is going for is the Intercontinental title. That's the last thing he wants to do before he retires.
Yeah.
So they're going to be building that up, whether that's at WrestleMania or Survivor Series. Either way, Gunther's going to be the longest running Intercontinental champion. By the time that somebody takes the belt from him. And I think it should be Sheamus. Then he can have his run with that, and then he can say he's won every single title.
So in terms of star ratings, Toner, will go to you.
I mean, I think this is generous 1.
Reasons why?
It's boring. There wasn't any kind of big spots. It never even when it was down to the last couple, at no point did it look like, oh, maybe they're not going to hand him the win here. You know the way we've had in kind of rumbles in the past where, everybody's in the bandwagon and the crowd are right behind, say, like a Daniel Bryan or whatever, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There was nothing even like that where you thought, oh, maybe not. It was just so scripted for him to go and do it that at no point in that did I think, oh, he's not going to get the win here.
Kev?
Same 1. It was just your standard battle royal. The reason it was there was to give LA Knight a push. They needed him on the card because people are, why is he not on this card? Why is he not showing up there? Why is he not doing this? Why is he not getting a win there? And this battle royal was set up by Triple H. Is that right? We need something to push this guy. So we'll do this, and then this will help build him up for other things later on.
Sorry, there's a porn coming through my couch again. Just give me a second to come off.
No. Man, I've got to do edits now. Bloody hell. I was hoping to get this up
Sorry.
ASAP. Oh, man, that is amazing.
It's off. I was trying to hold off and then I started.
I actually do want to keep this in. I really do want to keep it in just to rumble the guy.
I mean, if it was getting kept in, basically my couch has speakers and they're connected to via Bluetooth. Yeah. I never connect to the couch at all. Recently, there seems to be somebody that obviously goes onto their phone or whatever else to watch adult material, adult content, porn, ultimately. And it's got to be the old boy that stays down the stairs from me, although I'm not 100%, but there's an 8-meter radius on this, so it's really got to be him. And it happens at night, anywhere between, and not every night, but if it's happening at night, it happens anywhere between 8:45 and 9:30. And during the day, he works kind of part-time, so if he gets in kind of lunchtime, early afternoon, it happens then.
Oh, man. Right. I think I'm going to keep it in because that's just too priceless. I guess we were talking about, like, essentially a 1-star match from your side. Kev, what was the rating that you were going to give?
Again, 1 star.
I get right. So
there was no predictability. And like I said in my prediction, that it was going to be down to LA Knight and Sheamus. They were going to be the last two. Who did LA Knight?
Yeah,
Sheamus.
That's what it was. Yep. So, well, because we were talking about a 1-star match, we do need something. We did need something to bring it back. And I think Toner's porn couch has really brought it back to the floor for us. But I mean, in fairness, it was the match itself was only getting, I think, a max of 2 stars. So we weren't too far off.
Generous. That's generous.
So it's quite ironic that you're giving it that lower star rating because the one that has been getting absolutely slated by the critics is the one that's next. Shayna Baszler v Ronda Rousey in their MMA match. It is the shortest match on the card if you don't count the Money in the Bank cash-in, which some sites are and some sites aren't. So the official lowest match on the card, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, it got roundly turned on. Chance that this is boring, LA Knight, F this, all that kind of stuff. I thought that this was essentially like a backdoor pilot because they've got the merger with UFC to see if these type of fights would work on WWE programming. By the sound of the crowd, it sounded like it did not work. But Toner, you're a follower of both. What did you think?
You know, I think the reason it was never going to work is because wrestling fans historically, when it's been known that the likes of Rousey's going to be going and, you know, taking a step away and stuff, they kind of tend to jump all over that. I think there's always been a feeling like she get this massive push the second she came in and never really paid her dues, if you like. So I think there's always been that on it. I honestly don't think it would have massively mattered who she fought and how they fought, that the reaction would have been the reaction. You know, it didn't work because it wasn't an MMA fight. You know, just to get that clear, yeah, where the rules come in the thing, but it wasn't. Now, you go and look at, and we'll use Rousey as the example, go and look at any other MMA fights and they're nothing like that.
Yeah.
Now, any UFC fights, they're nothing like it. This was very much just some kind of way to play in. Now, to give a kind of nod to where the both of them have came from, give a nod to the merger and stuff like that. You know, it was just to give all these wee kind of gentle nods across. And, you know, that potential in their minds was maybe going to get a bit of a bigger pull because UFC fans that maybe don't particularly watch the wrestling would have seen Ronda Rousey, who is a UFC legend, in a UFC sanctioned match. Maybe that'll be kind of decent to tune into and decent to give a watch to. I very much feel that was how it was kind of positioned and played. it was more of a, and when I say this, I mean a UFC styled wrestling match, as opposed to a wrestling match or a scrap.
Right. So it's interesting that you brought that up though about they would have turned on it regardless because Rousey was leaving. Well, because they had a similar when it was Bill Goldberg v Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20. So at this point, I do have to ask Kev, which do you think has had the most hostile reception out of those two? Was it the match that has just been featured on SummerSlam or Goldberg Lesnar?
The most hostile one was Lesnar and Goldberg because they were both on their way out. They were both leaving. Everybody knew. As soon as that match was finished, they were out the door. That was them. Their contracts were done. That was it. They were never returning, supposedly. And with this, they know that Shayna Baszler's staying.
Yeah.
Her contract was just renewed. So it's like we could possibly get behind her. But I would have rather seen an actual fight. It's supposed to be MMA rules, which means you just beat the utter crap out of each other until you've won. That's not what it was. That's why people turned their back on it. Because a lot of people that do watch wrestling, they do watch MMA and UFC and all the other stuff because they're like, we know this is scripted. We know this is a storyline. Whereas with this is just two people that want to beat the utter crap at each other to push themselves up to get to the top. Whereas with this, none of them are going to the top because Ronda's on her way out and they won't put the belt on Shayna Baszler for at least another year.
That's an interesting point as well because with Baszler, when she first came in, they made her look like an absolute badass. And then they got to WrestleMania and the bottle crashed. So, Tor, do you think that they are trying to maybe plant the seeds to reverse that? And if they do you think it would even land?
You know, possibly. I mean, doing what she done to Rousey, obviously they were trying to get her over a bit more than she is. Do I think it would land based in the other kind of female wrestlers there? No. You know, it would take for some of them to be injured or to take time away or leave, I think, before she'll get a push that people would maybe accept. Because I think just now, when you look across the women's division, you know, you could probably name very easily a multitude of names that you would rather see get the opportunity and, you know, probably, don't want to say more deserving, but probably based on what they've done and the quality of matches they've put on, maybe should be kind of there.
Yeah.
But, you know, this was all kind of flung together because of the way things were and things became. So it kind of is what it is. You know, they've kind of done what they wanted to do. I think Rousey's done what she wanted and given her pal the kind of win in the manner she'd done it. Shayna's got, you know, kind of opportunities now to go and see, because obviously they were in a tag team for a while, so he got opportunities to maybe push back out singles again. But I think, you know, she's going to have to put on some cracking matches for her to start getting over. And I'll be honest and say, yeah, when she first came in and made her look like a badass, do any of Shayna Baszler's matches spring to mind as me going, oh, what a match? No, they don't. But you look at, you know, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, even Ronda Rousey, you know, they've all got matches that right away you can immediately go, that was a cracking match, that was a great match, that was this. Shayna Baszler's nothing. You can even go down to like say Alexa Bliss and everything else, you know, Liv Morgan. They've all put matches on that spring to mind immediately when you see them. I can't think of one Shayna Baszler match that for the right reasons springs to mind.
Right, so star rating, Toner?
I mean, how low can we give it?
Well, I'll say that everywhere that I have read up on has given just 1 star.
Well, I mean, I would begin at half a star.
Kev?
Same. I just did not enjoy the match.
Yeah. Well, based on that, a lot of people didn't. I think some were even giving it like a not applicable because they were just like that doesn't even justify a star rating. But I didn't want it. Well, we're better than that. We'd at least give it half. The next match on the card, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. This was a true big men slapping man meat kind of match. Gunther got the win at 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Well, we've pretty much all agreed that he is going to be the next longest Intercontinental Champion. Thoroughly deserved?
I think so. I mean, he's been a fighting champion. It's near enough every time that he's on a premium live event. He's got the title on the line. He's there on Raw and SmackDown, even when he doesn't need to be on one of them. He shows up to both, has a match. So it's well deserved.
What about the match itself, Tora? What did you think?
I mean, it was a match. Yeah, it was. But you probably, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was what I suppose everybody wanted, but it was what you expected. You know, that kind of brutality. You know, the slaps, the kind of heavy moves. You know, it was very much what you expected, but very much what you wanted to see, I suppose. You know, and him being a fighting champion, to see him going up against, you know, another big guy who, you know, because although McIntyre's big, he's a very agile guy. So
yeah, we saw that like in one of the things that the highlights, sorry, one of the highlights I wanted to talk about was how he'd done the dive over the ropes and landed on his feet. There's a lot of cruiserweights that couldn't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing with McIntyre now. He is very nimble on his feet for the size of the guy, and he always has been. And, you know, so it was good to see him get up against a big guy that can. I mean, McIntyre can stand and brawl with him and probably brawl, you know, for 25 minutes, half an hour with him, but can also throw in these type of moves that, you know, somebody of that side. Because if that was a cruiserweight, I can't really think any decent cruiserweights to mind right now.
I would say like Ricochet, just because he was like the kind of one of the ones that was just at the start, and he's used to flying moves.
Even a masked one, I can't think any. But if if that was to be like a cruiserweight, you'd expect them just to grab them and throw them. It's what we generally see happens. But you can't do that with somebody of McIntyre's size. So it was a total different, you know, it was a kind of total different challenge that he had. And, you know, it was enjoyable enough, but I wouldn't have ranked it out of my most enjoyable matches of the night. But, you know, again, it wasn't like the Rousey match where I could have went to sleep and not missed anything.
Stars-wise then?
This 2.
Kev?
I'm going to be a bit more generous. I'll give it 2.5. Just because it did have like, a fair number of high spots, considering it's two big brawler guys that are in the ring. And it's like there was so many high spots in this. But there was actually more high spots in this than there should have been in the first match.
Yeah. Well, they've been averaging about, I would say about 3.5 stars, like most of the ones that I've seen. Well, because they're saying, you know, it's more the fact that of who it is. It's Drew and Gunther. Like you say, he's a fighting champion. People like his run. They think he's on a good run. In the match itself, like they've got good chemistry together. So they were maybe go more generous for 3.5. But I can understand what the reasonings for the ratings. So we go into another one: Seth Rollins versus the Demon Finn Balor. Well, if only it was the Demon, it would have probably been a bit better. Seth Rollins got the win. 18 minutes 30 seconds. And of course there was shenanigans. And the reason I mentioned the Demon Finn Balor is because what would you think would have been better? Do you think it would have been better like in his Demon persona? Or do you think just the Finn Balor that he was is potentially the best match we could have got? And I'll go to Toner on that one.
I'm maybe one of the fewer ones here. I wasn't a big fan of the Demon persona. You know, I never really had been. Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't have good matches in that persona. Of course he did. I wasn't personally a fan. I like him where he is. I like the group. You know, do I think, honestly, he maybe deserves to hold a title? 100%. I think he most definitely does. obviously based on the predictions, I never thought for a second they were going to put it on him. But I don't think it would have harmed Seth if they did. I don't really think it would have made a big difference to Rollins if they put the title on Balor. And just to give you a bit of an example as well, if you check the odds before every match, so obviously you can see that there's ones that are favourites and everything else. See this was straight down the line. Even the bookies couldn't pick out a winner for this because it could have went either way and not harmed anybody. Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of his demon persona. So for me, I prefer it like this. Would I like to see maybe a bit more brutality of him? Of course.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one side of it that I would love to see. I'd love to see it where not going into the demon persona, but he just snaps and he just becomes very vicious in it. I think if you kind of added that in, I think you could see him, whatever title it may be, because, and I appreciate the whole thing with Sheamus, but you could see somebody like Balor going for that title and due to outside interference, getting the win, and having that bit in him that snaps and going in a wee run, and then Sheamus taking it off him, which you could definitely see. I think he deserves to have a belt on him. I would have loved to have said before it, Balor for the win in this, but I just couldn't see there being a logic in them changing the holder of the belt.
Yeah.
And bear in mind as well with the high moves, they'd announced at the start of SummerSlam that there was some charity thing. So they were donating £5,000 WWE for every kind of high move off the ropes that was done. So I think that's why in some of the matches as well, you've probably seen a lot more moves like that.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. It wouldn't have mattered who got the win or how they got the win, but I can see them with the way that Finn got the loss. I can see them turning on him in Judgment Day because he's not won a match for like 8 weeks, whereas all the rest of them, they've won championships, and Damian Priest has got the Money in the Bank contract. So they've all won, whereas he's the weak link. So I could see Damian Priest cashing in on Seth and then kicking Finn out, and then Finn getting the win against him. I could see that happening down the line.
That'd be an interesting one. When it comes to the interference, with Judgment Day, stuff like that, and obviously it worked against them. They was talking about that, looks like Judgment Day is gonna implode. What do you think that's the right call? Because a lot of people are more calling for the bloodline to implode at this point more than Judgment Day.
I would say the right call would be for them to implode eventually. It's always going to come. Yeah. In regards to between them and the bloodline, I think it's probably going to be Mania before we see the bloodline totally crumble. With this, would I mind, and I agree with Kev there about Balor going. I wouldn't mind that so much as long as they kind of kept the core of the blood of Judgment Day there. And again, because I do like the group and I do think it works really well, but you can see, over kind of Raws and things like that as well, all these wee bits getting flung in where you think, oh, look at that look that they gave, or oh, look at that there. And you just see this building and building and building the way they've done with numerous stables throughout the years, that you're just waiting for that point at breaking and snapping. But I would like to see it, as Kev said, with them kicking him out and kind of keeping the core of them there, and kind of still continuing to try and kind of go, because I do like, I think it's actually a bit refreshing having a kind of group like that in the wrestling, because there's nothing else I think really like the way that they are.
Yeah, they've got a good chemistry to them as well. So especially with Rhea and Dominic Mysterio, I think they would be gutted if they split them up. It's got basically the Eddie Guerrero China type of vibes about it. But in terms of the match for star ratings, Kev?
I'd give this one a 3. It was a Seth Rollins Finn Balor match. You know what to expect. I mean, they could have pushed it and they could have got a 4-star match, but I think they're trying to save for other things. I think they're trying to build up, and they didn't want to injure each other like what they two have a habit of doing.
It's true. Tona?
I was right away after this match finished. Even in my head, I went, it's probably about 2.5. Found it enjoyable. Obviously predicted it. There was no kind of big things that spots like that happened in it that kind of took it from kind of between 2 and 3 to over that. And for like 2.5.
Yeah. Well, 3 stars was the average for this one, so we weren't too far off. To the match now where everybody got it wrong. Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair got the win, although short-lived. This triple threat match itself was 20 minutes and 45 seconds. And then Io Sky comes down, cashes the money in the bank on Bianca Belair. 8-second match. She gets the title. Right call? Kev?
I think it was. Because Asuka has had a great run before. And the reason they put the title on her was to keep her, because she said, look, I'm here, I'm jobbing to people, use me, at least give me another run, give me a tag title run even, but just put me out there, because she wasn't getting used. So that's why they gave her the win at WrestleMania. And then she's done her run here, and they're like, right, well, we're going to give it to Io, but Bianca's going to get the win, and then she's going to lose it, so that she can have 2 records. She's got the longest title of this year and the shortest, because when she lost it, it was 480 odd days. So she was the longest of the modern era, and now she's the shortest ever. So it's like, that's why they're doing that. It's on numbers in WWE, so it's like, oh, this will be great. This will be a clickbait thing, and people will be like, oh, they'll be talking about it for years. But I couldn't really be bothered if she was champion again. I mean, she is a tremendous athlete. You can see that. But I don't think they should have had her as the champion for over a year.
Well, it leads to the one that, in what Kev and I predicted, what was Charlotte Flair was going to win it. But there was a couple of botches when it came to her spots, especially when it was the double moves. There was a lot of botches around it. They made this whole big thing about this wardrobe malfunction thing. I was like, it was basically what there was like a clip at something at the back that needed to get sorted. Not much about it. What do you think that everybody's just trying to pinpoint anything they can on Charlotte just because she is just so oversaturated, or do you think some of it's justified and maybe we should be pushing her out essentially? What do you think, Tony?
I mean, I do think that, especially when it comes to the likes of Charlotte, they do, everybody kind of looks for things to criticise, because we went through a spell where, let's be honest, she was the best thing about the women's division for a long time. She kind of carried quite a bit. And yeah, there was people round about her that also held a burden. But any great match, any brutal match for a long period of time, she was involved in. One way or another, whether it was a win, a loss, or whatever else she was involved in. I think there then just becomes this expectation that, because of her history in regards to her family history, and because of her and because of the way she kind of dominated for quite a while, that there then becomes this expectation everything she does is absolutely spot on. I mean, if that was somebody that consistently made mistakes, people are going to go, oh, that's what you expect. The reason it gets picked out is because not a lot of mistakes generally come from her. and not a lot of this normally happens. So
I think Charlotte's essentially the John Cena of the women's division. As in, like, she carried it for so long, people are just kind of like, ugh, it's her again.
I don't think it's more like it's her again. I do think, when she did come back, the pop she got was tremendous. I do think, and to be fair, I wasn't her biggest fan at the beginning. I do like quite a few of her matches. I do think she's put on great matches. I do enjoy her matches. So there was a few botches in this. I mean, and I use this factually, nobody died. As we've seen happen historically. It's a couple of botches, no big injuries, no deaths, nobody getting paralysed, anything like that. It's a couple of botches that happened, and that's probably, she's taking the heat for it, but there's umpteen people that all have to make a double team move work. There's all these other people around it. I mean, the ref's got to call things right. They've got to be in the kind of right chemistry. They've got to be on the same page. But all three of them in the ring need to be on the same page as well for all this to work. She's just the one that, probably was a bit more rusty with stuff like that. Maybe just had a bit of an off time. But I don't think it hampered the match. I don't think you walk away from the match and you're going, oh, yeah, look at this, look at that. I don't think it kind of changed that. And I think what made this match enjoyable is we've kind of shown with our predictions, but we're all looking at it from different angles.
Yeah.
And we all still get it wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's something that is really... That was the most unpredictable thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was what made this match the most enjoyable to watch.
And I think that's something that's interesting to look at as well, because a lot of people were saying because we kept getting the women's matches wrong, that we knew nothing about women's wrestling, aka we were sexist. Now, I think it's the reverse. I think they're doing such a good job with the matches of the women's wrestling in WWE that it's not as predictable.
It's harder to predict. Yeah,
which also makes it more exciting.
Especially with a triple threat match. It's like you go into that, it's like, oh, champions not get an advantage. They don't need to be in the ring. So it's to be expected anybody can win. For example, the last big triple threat match was the Intercontinental title match.
Yeah.
Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. We all knew that Gunther was going to win.
Why?
It's not to say it wasn't an enjoyable match.
It was the best match on the card.
You knew what to expect. You knew it was coming. You knew the spots that were going to happen. And with this, you didn't know where it was going to go, because it's like they could give either one of them the championship and they could have a great run.
Yeah.
They can have great matches.
Yeah. And what I loved about our predictions for this match in particular was we all got it wrong. We all had different theories and they were all plausible.
Yeah.
You could realistically have said any of our theories would make a great storyline or would have led to what we could have led to. But they totally blindsided it and gave us something else. And we're all like, whoa, this could be interesting. Let's see how this is going to turn out. Well, and it's something that I think is very exciting about the women's division right now. When it was our era, it was, right, who's going to get their clothes ripped off first? Not exactly anything that was, of note. What was it? Well, we were teenage boys. Of course, it was of note for us. but in terms of if you were looking at it as, a division of competitive wrestling, there was fuck all there. China was stomping through everything. And then before that, it was between Lita, Trish, Jacqueline, and maybe a handful of other ones in between, if you were lucky. This one's just so unpredictable. That's what I really like about it. Because a lot of people were rating this as the best match of the night with the average of 4 stars. What would you guys think?
I agree. I gave it 4.
Kev?
4, aye.
No,
just because there was no... It's like we went into it all thinking completely different things. I mean, even though we both picked Charlotte,
yeah,
we both had a different theory of how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And when Bianca got the win, it's like, all right, okay. And then Io Sky comes down. It's like, all right, well, she's going to be the champion now. Because of the match that they've just had. So they're not going to have Bianca beating her. So it's like they're going in a direction with this, and I think it's a positive way to go because there's no predictability in it.
I think that's perfectly spot on.
And just to say as well, for the criticism that we were talking earlier on the kind of Charlotte Flair, but yet this has been given as the highest rated match.
True.
Yeah.
That is it's because like John Cena, where it was the men's one, you could criticize all you want, but he got the job done. And it was usually a solid end product. Charlotte's exactly the same in that sense. She's just more of a high flyer. And also what I would give her due. I think she's got some of her dad's charisma about her. Well, when you come from Flair stock, you're always going to have some sort of like magic in you, I think, until you get to 70. Seriously, Rick, please stop. So we go from the most unpredictable match for the right reasons to one of the most unpredictable matches for all the wrong reasons, aside from the outcome. Roman Reigns v. Jey Uso, tribal combat. Roman Reigns got the win in the longest match on the card by a country mile, 36 minutes and 5 seconds. And this is one that a lot of people are saying, look, you finally jumped the shark. What do you guys think?
I've got to say, I mean, if you think back months ago, Heyman said out with on screen, it wasn't on kind of televised, but he said it online and using stuff. This is going to take a lot more twists and turns than anybody will think's coming. So, yes, granted, I did kind of think at points there was going to be different turns. That clearly wasn't something that I predicted would have happened that night. But, I mean, you can tell they're dragging the arse out a bit because they're wanting it to run to Mania. But was it an enjoyable match? Yeah. Did it have people getting right involved in crowd reaction? 100%. So when you're then sitting in the gorilla position backstage and you're watching this on screen and you're hearing these reactions, that's what you want. That is your goal, to have these reactions, have these cheers, have these gasps, have these, oh my God, how do they kick out of that? That's everything that you want. And then to have that, oh my God, he just done that. He just turned. That is all the reaction want. I think the problem is they had every one of those reactions in a 36-minute match. They crammed like a full 2 months worth of stuff into 36 minutes. But for me, it was still very much enjoyable. I still liked it. As you say, the outcome was the outcome. We kind of knew where it was going. I think we can all agree that this is running to Mania. Now we can kind of we can foresee that happening. So do I think this is going to be the last time we sit here and we talk about, oh my goodness, he just jumped ship, he's just done this, and he's just attacked him? No chance.
That actually leads into one criticism that is going around for this match, and it's the stipulation of the match, the tribal combat. It was all built around this kind of two big dogs fighting for the supremacy, to be, tribal chief, and no interference, it's between us, no holds barred, let's go for it. Yet they broke all of their own rules. I think there will be probably a big exposition dump come SmackDown, but not surprising though, Kev, that they basically just flung it all out the window. It sounds very much like a Vince McMahon type story. They build up all this lore around it, then they just shit on it.
It was like you said, they've chucked a month's worth of story into 36 minutes. It's like there was ups, there was downs. Who's going to win? Oh my God, Jimmy's turned his back on his brother. And it's like, they're going to milk this story. It's been their most popular story for a long time. So they're going to milk the shit out of this for as long as they can. The next pay-per-view, premium live event is Payback. It's going to be Jimmy versus Jay. They've been wanting to do a brother versus brother match for years. They get put in a tag team because they're brothers and they worked together. And they worked together tremendously. And they were asked years ago, do you think you'll ever have a feud between yourselves? So I don't know if Vince would let that happen. But you can see that Vince hasn't took too much to do with this story because it wasn't his to start with. So he's only had like slight pushes with it, with them saying, no, Roman stays the champion until this time. Probably until his contract runs out at WrestleMania next year.
Probably. Well, and also
because he's not re-signed yet. Because this is when they do it. They re-sign like a year in advance or 6 months in advance. So it's like Mania's in April. So this will be round about the time they'll start negotiating. And I think he wants to go out. I think he's gone.
Yeah. He's just picked up an injury as well.
Yeah.
From recent reports. Like he picked up an injury in the match. So he's going to be out for a while after that too.
Not that you'd be able to tell. I mean, he has like 3 fights every 6 months. So
he gets injured so much, he's not fucking doing anything.
Exactly.
But when you look at it, when you're talking about the brother versus brother thing, in recent interviews, they had said, that they wanted a brother v brother match, but they want it for WrestleMania. Do you think they're going to use some of these, like, quote unquote, lesser PLEs to kind of see how they gel together to see if that's an actual viability?
They probably will. I mean, that could be the big thing.
What about you, Toner? What do you think?
I mean, again, the one thing about this story is, yes, where outcomes have been predictable because whenever Roman does defend, he always walks away with the title, by hook or by crook. But what happens during the course of that match or whatever else is very unpredictable, and interference and twisting and turns. So there's a potential where they might go out and they might say, do you know what, let's have a feud with their shows and let's put them in that. But then you could also see it in the flip side where they two kind of look as though they're going to be getting into a match, and then Solo's the enforcer steps in and he says, no. Now, Roman or whatever say, no, it's okay, he'll deal with that. And then they continue that sizzling away in the background to whether it be Rumble, whether it be, whatever it may be. But that's the thing with this. You could see that happening a multitude of different ways. You could see them both going out and having it at Payback and probably putting on a cracking match. Or you could see, Roman as the tribal chief step in and saying, no. Me and the wise man have spoken. We want him as the enforcer to go out and he's going to take care of business.
True. So in terms of star ratings?
I would have gave this one 3.5, just because there was a lot of things where it's like, are they actually going to take the belt off Roman? Are they doing this? Because there was some very, very close calls and the referee had to slow down because it's like, he's fast counting. He needs to slow down. And you could see him, it's like, and then you could see him hesitating because he's already counted too fast. So that's why I'm only giving it 3.5.
Connor?
I'm probably around about, I would say 3.5. I was in between kind of 3 and 3.5. I'll agree with Kev on the kind of 3.5 because it was enjoyable, irrespective. And sometimes that's the thing, irrespective that we've predicted what we believe the outcome is going to be, and irrespective of the fact that, we were right, that was the outcome. But actually, if you look back at that 36 minutes, I bet there was times, Kevin, you're sitting going, oh, was I right there? As that? And when you get that engrossed in it, that's when it becomes enjoyable. Yeah, okay, at the end of the 36 minutes, the outcome might have been what you predicted, but the fact that you question yourself during it and you're enjoying what you're seeing then makes, that's where the predictability factor of it doesn't come into it as much. Because although you've predicted it before that, you're questioning yourself for the entirety of the match. Look, that's been running for 25 minutes. How long is this going to go on for? Oh no, he's done this. Is that going to be a 3 count now? Is that how it's going to finish? And that is what makes it enjoyable, because we all know it's scripted. We all know that this is predetermined, but that's what makes that element of it enjoyable, when you're literally sitting there going, am I right, am I not right? So 3.5 has got to be what I would say.
Yep. This is the first time that you've actually gave more generous ratings than the critics, or the ones that I've watched, because they were all between 2 to 3. Wow, they're all just sick. Well, most of them are sick of it. I think there's a couple that are still like, okay, let's see where the twists and turns are going, but most of them are just like, just wrap this up already. Wow, we're sick of it. But in terms of the overall PLE, if you had to give it a star rating out of 5, Kev?
I'll say 3.
Toner?
I'm probably sitting at about a 2.5. I think as well, when you look at what I've rated some of the matches, that's probably not far away. If you average that out, probably between a 2.5 and a 3, but I would say 2.5. Couple of matches thoroughly enjoyable, really liked. But there was still that few in there that was there any need.
Well, again, we're on average with most between the 2.5 to 3 stars is what most gave for the PLE all round. Good, passable, but somewhat just like, what's it really needed?
Yeah.
So that's been our hot takes on SummerSlam 2023. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought of it. What do you think of any of the outcomes? Do you think it was just a straightforward predictability? Would you have liked to have seen more that was maybe a bit more out there? Let us know. We'll see what we can make of it. Guys, as always, thank you very much for your time, especially since Toner is riding on 1 hour sleep in the last 48 hours. And me and Kev are parents, so yeah, we don't know what sleep is as well. So until next time, everybody, good night.
See ya.
Cheers.